I am the son of a billionaire, ask me anything. Very brief summary. I am 29 years old, my father is worth just shy of $2 billion, and he's on a rapid trajectory to be worth significantly more. I'll leave it at that and provide details as requested. I'll try to be as honest as possible, but obviously I'll be vague on identifiable details. I don't really have anyone to talk to about this because of the uniqueness of the situation, so it's cathartic to speak openly about a subject that's obviously a bit taboo. I'd like to talk about it because it helps me feel more connected, and hopefully it will offer perspective to anyone who has preconceived notions on the super rich, not that I don't expect to validate some of the stereotypes. I'll try to answer promptly at the start, but we'll be basically squeezing this AMA into my day, so I may disappear for a bit and then come back. Ask away if you're interested. In sociology class the other day, we had an interesting discussion on how everyone seems to want to identify as being middle class. Poor people often say, lower middle class, and people who make 100 to 600k a year call themselves high middle class. It almost appears that there's a stigma to being very wealthy. You even said it yourself in the description, that it is almost taboo to talk about being wealthy. I'm curious what your insight on this matter might be. For example, why do you think it's taboo to be rich? Have you experienced any resentment from people because of it? What's something about the super rich that you wish the other classes understood about you, as a way to try to make them possibly resent you less? I have to say, fantastic, AMA. Your answers are breaking the stereotype you mentioned. I really like your lifestyle. Your parents didn't give you a free pass with their money, and the pressure to make as much money as them. It seems it's only you, not them telling you to have more ambition. You look down to earth. My question: do your parents pressure you to want more? Make more money? In my situation, my father worked his ass off to have as much money as he does. I am ambitious, not as much as him, yet, but I do get just a little tiny bit of pressure from him. Something I've always wondered, if your internet or cable or phone or whatever ever goes down, do you, or whoever would do that for you, call the regular helpline of whatever company services your connection, or is there a special super secret high priority line you would have access to? I work for $1 running phone support, and I'm curious as to whether I may inadvertently get someone famous on the line one of these days. Have you watched the documentary, Born Rich? It's about other adult kids of billionaires. Some questions. At what point in your life did you realize that your parents are very, very rich? Do you think you grew up in a bubble, so to speak, unaware of things those of more modest wealth take for granted? Any funny or embarrassing moments? Conversely, did you get an education in finance or philanthropy much earlier and more complete than most other kids do? At what point did your parents stop supporting you, financially? Do you have other siblings? You mentioned that you live a middle-class life now and work in a normal job. Are you content with this, or do you have plans to get independently wealthy? It really frustrates me when people have the support, the means, and the brains to go through college, but they just don't do it. I grew up super poor, I'm below average in intelligence, and trying to get a degree would break me, both mentally and physically and financially. I don't have parents who could co-sign for me or a way to get to and from campus. I don't have the brains to get past high school. I just want to slap people who say they dropped out of college for no reason. Go back to college and get your degrees. Why not when you can afford it? I'm sure your dad would be thrilled to see his son have more motivation. I had to drop a friend because of this. Her family was loaded. They spoiled her rotten with free cars and gave her what she wanted. She thought she earned it all because she did chores, then they paid for her college, and she ended up dropping out. She was just so ignorant and entitled and always told me about her problems when my family had to choose between eating and paying rent. Now she works at a factory, and she isn't concerned because her family pays for what she wants, and that trust fund will keep her afloat when they are gone. She was given so much potential, and she just washed it down the drain. The poor resent the rich. If your father was just supporting his family, then he would have stopped working for more money when it was just enough. He's probably screwed over lots of people to get where he is at, no doubt. You don't get to be a top dog without pushing people down. You can never know the struggles of a normal person because you will always have the soft cushion of your daddy and his money. You'll always have that. You get to escape to luxurious places when most people work all day and don't get a vacation for years. Most of my friends don't even get vacation days, and the ones that do are too scared to take them in fear of being fired over it. They struggle just to keep their family afloat. Your dad has lots of connections, and there's no doubt he's used them for you. You had a superior education compared to those in the average, or worse, situation. There was an AMA once of another rich person, and before that, I didn't know there were schools where the teachers were there because they enjoyed teaching. The idea of having a teacher passionate in their subject baffled me. In my schools, the teachers hated kids and did the absolute bare minimum in order to get the kids to take a test so they could shove them out that year. From what I hear, that's how most public schools are, and it gets worse in the more ghetto areas. I suffered so long because it is difficult for me to retain information, so I never really learned much. I could never again be friends with a rich person. The blatant entitlement and lack of awareness when they could do so much, it just boils my blood. I know I'll be downvoted to all hell, but I had to get this off of my chest. My question is why? Why not do more with what you were given? Why waste it? This is such an informative AMA. I'm really enjoying your perspective, Op. I think you mentioned you met your wife in a private high school. Does this mean her family was moderately wealthy as well? Yerk, you also said you're not close with your parents, but your siblings kind of fell in line with their ambitions. Would you say there's anything that gives you a leg up over them? Like, more flexible hours or being in technology? Do you have any extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, etc., with similar wealth? If not, does this cause any tension? This has been an enjoyable read. You don't seem like an unbearable prick. Your text uses the proper accents for naive and cliché, which mine does not. This adds to your credibility in this grammar Nazi's unimportant estimation. I like that you feel some shame and unreservedness re. Your chance of birth, I find you to be level-headed and even-keeled. You seem like a good dude doing good by your wife and child. I have 2 decades on you, and you strike me as mature for your age. Good on you. A lot of comments are on the op's responsibilities, being so wealthy and all. And envy. As food for thought, to anyone posting from a first world country, are you not living in a glass house? The vast majority on here with internet access, a roof, clean water, opportunities, however limited they may seem, you are more than likely incredibly lucky compared to A, many people around the world, and B, pretty much any of your ancestors. Think for a minute we enjoy a lifestyle that kings couldn't buy in centuries past. To someone from the 17th century, or to someone in many parts of the world today, you are a billionaire. You have the world's knowledge at your fingertips. You likely have access to education, healthcare, you have electricity, running clean water, a roof over your head, food in your belly. You are living humanity's dream of 1,000 generations, yet look down on someone who can have more toys than you, and say that he should be ashamed. How would that conversation seem to your great-great-grandparents? Consider how lucky we are to be living in today's world, however crappy our personal situations may be. And then realize that despite having most of our basic needs fulfilled, shelter, food, health, we still feel cheated. So, count your blessings and think, given my situation, how can I help others, rather than it's not fair. His dad has 3 Commonwealth. My question. Why are you settling for mediocrity? I don't buy your previous responses of ADHD and the expectations of a successful father. You have the opportunity to make a significant impact on the world and the means to make it a reality. But instead, you what? Work a mediocre job and play video games. I don't understand you. I don't understand people like you. Maybe if you understood me a little you would know why. I've never known my father and haven't seen my mother since I was 9 years old. I'm dirt poor. When I was in middle school I stayed as late as I could reading textbooks, because that was better than going back to my filthy foster home. I used to be hungry all the time. Do you know what it's like going to bed hungry? All I had were dreams about exploring space or creating new tech that could change the world. I eventually made it to Harvard, but did you know scholarships applied directly to your student account? I can't go to the CVS off Kennedy and buy deodorant with my scholarship, let alone other essentials. I'm still poor. Now I have to pander to rich kids to fund my tech. Of course, they will eventually profit from my work because they have rich daddies and mummies. All I want to do is build better technology. I want to make the world more accessible to the poor. I want to free people from the shackles of meaningless jobs. And here you are, the son of a billionaire, working a mindless job. I'd give anything to be able to focus 100% on my work that is going to change the world. But I can't, because I have to spend time dealing with being poor. I have to toil and work odd jobs. Find people I can convince to invest in me, etc. You need to wake up. Find something you care about and use your father's resources to make it a reality. Change someone's life and start with your own. You owe the world more than mediocrity. Just because you didn't ask for it doesn't mean you don't have this responsibility. You may not be answering anymore, but I just was wondering, you must have traveled to so many amazing places and seen and eaten so many amazing things. I imagine after a while, some of it gets old. I'm far from wealthy, but I love to travel, and it can be difficult to wow or impress me these days. So, what has wowed you? I know you're going to want to say something like the birth of my first child or something, but I'm talking about something that I could experience if I really saved up forever or got lucky or set my sights on it. What's some amazing place you've been, or food you ate, or experience you had that is firmly in your head as the best? You sound like a really cool guy. My dad came into some minor wealth when I was in high school, college, and I felt a lot of the same guilt and need to hide the money from my friends as you do. We had this stupid huge house, but I'd never invite my friends over because I didn't want them to feel overwhelmed or guilty for inviting me over. And I also didn't want them to suddenly treat me differently, etc. And, in some cases like you, my parents were wealthy. I benefited from the wealth, but I wasn't wealthy myself. It's not like I could give my friends money or pay for dinner every time we went out. Yeah, I had a car they bought me, but I still had to pay for my own gas maintenance, etc. Anyway, I'm rambling. I guess in a way I had some need to speak about that sort of situation as well. How do you feel about the inequality in everyday life between the rich plus $100 million and the poor, paycheck to paycheck in their property? Do you feel there is any truth to the idea that the rich should stop getting richer and start helping society more? Bill Gates and W. Buffett are helping a lot of people, but even what they do would not be considered enough, in my books. I am not saying that you should spend all your dollar on helping others, but start helping others by running for higher elected offices, and have her bring strong morals, unlike Trump et al. Guide by example. With morals. Do what is right for people, not for companies. Create understanding and fight bad ideas in the public. I'm coming at this from a political standpoint that is, let's say, less than enthusiastic about wealth or the wealthy, especially having worked for people who have a lot of money in the past as someone without much. I'll try to keep my grump from coming through, but if I seem a little edgy, I apologize in advance. Do you worry or even think about a future where those of us at the bottom, or near about, will be unable to make a living due to automation? It seems like a super obtuse question, but this is something I don't think enough people are thinking about. The trend in technology has been to let fewer people produce more, and that trend isn't slowing down. What happens when there are more people than ways for those people to earn a living? Historically, it's meant political and social unrest, often violence. I would like to know what your thoughts on this situation are. I think the hatred of rich people lies in the fact that there is so much preventable suffering in this world. I mean, the third world is just a massive shitstorm of preventable disease, pain, and death, and even in the first world, there are plenty of homeless and poor people who have to struggle to live every day. Can you honestly say, QV23 Ovnislook, that your dad works just as hard as a guy who works 16 hours a day just to put food on the table? As it turns out, real life isn't an effort-based meritocracy. There are some people who will simply have better lives because they were born into a better position. Now let's get to actual numbers. If your family suddenly lost 99% of its savings, then it'd have $20 million left. Don't get me wrong, you'd lose a lot. Many of the privileges you regard as normal would probably become once-a-year things, if they still exist at all. But $20 mil. It is still a lot of money. I must admit that I don't know how much money my family has. But I know that if my extended family lost 99% of our savings, we'd be in some deep shit. I'd have to give up many of my prized possessions. We'd have to move out of our house. There would be serious, extremely stressful conversations about finances that would probably drive a wedge between my parents and me. It wouldn't be a good time. Hope this explains a little bit about how the weak look upon the strong. Good to know. Now hand over your undeserved inherited money gained out of the extraction of workers' surplus labor by your dear asshole of a dad. Write your name down for potential guillotine and head out to the re-education center. My question is, surely you don't intend on living off the dead labor that created all that sweet money? Surely, you'll donate all of it, after limiting your purchases to a home for your own use, and not for rental, and help in the emancipation of the working class. Otherwise, I can guarantee you, from when you are young, that you will not enjoy the inevitable political revolution coming in the next 50 years. You disgust me. You can say your dad worked his ass off. Well, so did mine and my mother. Where are my parents' billions? They worked very hard. Do you think that immediately means more money? Face it, your dad got rich by a few rolls of the dice, screwing everyday people over and being a tight ass. No one is a self-made billionaire. The super rich are just standing on the shoulders of the poor. It doesn't matter if you were born on those shoulders or climbed up on those shoulders. Capitalism is not a meritocracy. Do you think your dad's money justifies the better chance at life you were handed? Better education, better connections, better medical care. Meanwhile, people are working twice as hard to get half as much as you. You can be as well-spoken and polite as you want, I still hate you. How do you feel about the way your father came into his money? You say you don't want people hating your father for how much money he has, but I think you've got it all wrong. For me, at least, it takes a certain kind of evil to contribute to the destruction of our planet for material gains, and then effectively purchase pawns in the government to artificially keep your own business afloat instead to stepping aside for progress to be made. Obviously, evil is impacted if blood is shed in the crusade for said material gains. Naturally, the businessman would hide behind the guise of amorality and the holiness of the almighty dollar, but true to the nature of the greedy, is philosophically lazy. I'm assuming your family is involved in oil, of course. Don't apologize for the money. In fact, don't apologize at all. Contemplate the impact your money has had on our society, and maybe try and rectify some of it. How can I change my money situation around? I have a rare form of pain called complex regional pain syndrome within my left leg, from the knee down, which makes it hard for me to walk, stand, kneel, bend, crouch, climb, run, concentrate, learn, and many days gets me to the point where I cannot even get out of bed, also wakes me up through the night. I also dropped out of high school since this started in grade 10. I got hit by a car and shattered my left calf, bruised my ribs and almost died as my head landed in front of a bus tire. I am very lucky to be alive. I had an injury at work on the same leg and have been off work 6 months for a sprained ankle that still hasn't got better. I also live on my own and can't even really afford the bills I do have, and I'm only 25. Do you have any ideas of what I can do to change my current money situation? It's at a point where I am so close to giving up because I feel I am only getting worse. I can't even afford to go back to school as my credit has plunged over the last couple years. If there is anything you could suggest, please do. I sure envy your life, man. Great job on your dad for doing what he has done. Thanks in advance.